She walked into the conference room that Tuesday morning and saw something that would shatter everything she thought she knew about trust, power, and survival in the corporate world. But before I tell you what happened next, do me a favor. Type your country in the comments right now, hit that subscribe button, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this story, because what unfolds in the next few minutes will leave you speechless. Sarah Chen had worked at Meridian Financial Group for 7 years. 7 years of climbing, surviving, proving herself in a male-dominated industry where every victory felt like a battle won in inches. She was 34, senior account manager, respected but never quite part of the inner circle. Her dark hair was always pulled back in a tight ponytail, her suit sharp and conservative, her smile professional and measured. She had learned early that in this building, vulnerability was weakness, and weakness was career suicide. The affair started 6 months ago, not with passion or romance, but with late nights and shared frustration. Marcus Webb was the regional director, 41, married, charismatic in that dangerous way that made you forget the risks. He had this ability to make you feel seen, heard, important. Something Sarah's husband of 9 years had stopped doing somewhere between the mortgage payments and the monotony of their scheduled life. It began with coffee meetings that stretched too long, strategy sessions that didn't need to happen behind closed doors, text messages that started professional and slowly, subtly crossed invisible lines. Sarah knew it was wrong. Every fiber of her rational mind screamed warnings she chose to ignore. But Marcus made her feel powerful, desired, relevant in ways she had forgotten existed. They were careful, obsessively careful. Different hotels every time, never the same restaurant twice, separate elevators, staggered arrivals. In the office, they maintained perfect professional distance, cold even. Colleagues joked about how they seemed to dislike each other. That was exactly the cover they needed. But someone knew. That Tuesday morning, October 17th, Sarah arrived at work at 7:45, the same time she always did. The building was still quiet, the fluorescent lights humming their mechanical morning song. She grabbed her coffee from the fourth-floor break room, nodded at Janet from accounting, and headed toward her office. That's when she saw Marcus standing outside the main conference room, his face drained of color, his usually perfect posture slumped. His hands were shaking. "Marcus?" Sarah kept her voice neutral, professional, but her heart was already accelerating. He looked at her, and in his eyes she saw something she'd never seen before. Terror. "Don't go in there," he whispered. "Please, Sarah, don't go in there." But it was too late. The door was already opening from the inside. Derek Chen, the company's chief operating officer, stepped out, his expression unreadable. Derek was Sarah's distant cousin by marriage, though they rarely acknowledged the connection at work. He looked at Sarah, then at Marcus, then back at Sarah. "Both of you, inside now." The conference room was ice cold. The air conditioning had been turned up too high. Or maybe it was just the atmosphere. Sitting at the far end of the long mahogany table was Victoria Price, the company's head of human resources, her silver-streaked hair immaculate, her face carved from stone. Next to her sat someone Sarah had never seen before, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a legal pad covered in notes. On the table, displayed on a laptop screen, was a photograph. Sarah's entire body went numb. It was her and Marcus. Last Thursday night, the Italian restaurant in Brooklyn, the one they thought was far enough away. They weren't touching in the photo, but they were leaning close, intimate, his hand near hers on the table, her face lit with laughter. The angle suggested the photo was taken from across the street, through the window. Professional, deliberate, calculated. "Sit down, both of you," Victoria said. Her voice was flat, administrative, the tone of someone who had done this before and would do it again. Sarah sat. Her hands were ice. Marcus sat 3 chairs away, maintaining distance even now. "Before we begin," Victoria continued, "I need to inform you that this meeting is being recorded. You both have the right to have legal representation present, but given the time-sensitive nature of what we need to discuss, we're proceeding. If at any point you want to stop and consult an attorney, you may do so." Time-sensitive. What did that mean? The unknown woman spoke for the first time. Her voice was crisp, professional. My name is Linda Hartwell. I'm a private investigator hired by Mrs. Rebecca Webb 3 weeks ago. She slid a folder across the table. Inside, you'll find approximately 40 photographs documenting your affair over the past 6 months. Hotels, restaurants, parking garages. My client has been aware of the infidelity for some time and has been gathering evidence for divorce proceedings. Marcus made a sound like he'd been punched. However, Linda continued, that's not why we're here this morning. Sarah's mind was spinning. If not the affair, then what? Derek stood up, walked to the laptop, and pressed a button. The photograph changed. This time it was a different image entirely. A bank statement. Sarah squinted at the screen, trying to make sense of the numbers. It took her several seconds to realize what she was looking at. Transfers. Dozens of them. Hundreds of thousands of dollars moving from Meridian client accounts into offshore accounts she'd never seen before. The transactions were dated over the past 3 months, and attached to each transfer, like a signature, was her employee authorization code. No, Sarah breathed. No, that's not. I never. Sarah Chen, Victoria's voice cut through the room like a blade. You are hereby suspended pending investigation into suspected embezzlement, wire fraud, and corporate theft totaling approximately $840,000 from client accounts under your direct management. The room tilted. Sarah gripped the edge of the table. I didn't do this, she said. Her voice sounded distant, like it was coming from someone else. I would never. Derek, you know me. I've been with this company for 7 years. I would never. The authorization codes are yours, Derek said. His face was conflicted, pained even, but his words were firm. The access logs show the transfers were made from your computer, during hours you were logged in. The forensic accountants have already confirmed. Then someone else used my credentials. Sarah was standing now, her voice rising. Someone hacked my account? Someone framed me. This isn't. Marcus finally spoke. His voice was hollow. Sarah, did you need money? Was there something you weren't telling me? She turned to him, incredulous. Are you serious right now? You think I would steal from the company? You think I would. She stopped, realization dawning with horrifying clarity. You think I used you to get access to higher-level accounts? His silence was answer enough. We need your laptop, your phone, your access badge, and your office keys, Victoria said. She was already standing, already moving towards Sarah with a cardboard box. The humiliation box. Sarah had seen other people carry it out of the building. She never thought she'd be holding one herself. I want a lawyer, Sarah said. Her voice was shaking. I want a lawyer right now, and I'm not saying another word until I have one. That's your right, Linda said, but I should inform you that the FBI's Financial Crimes Division has already been notified. They'll likely want to speak with you within the next 24 hours. FBI. The word hit Sarah like a physical blow. She looked at Marcus, desperate, searching for any sign of support, of belief, of loyalty. But he was staring at the table, his jaw clenched, his entire body language screaming distance and self-preservation. She looked at Derek, her cousin, family, someone who had known her since she was in college. His expression was sympathetic but helpless. She looked at Victoria, who was already typing something on her phone, already moving on to the next problem. And Sarah understood, in that terrible moment of clarity, that she was completely alone. The walk from the conference room to her office was the longest of her life. Victoria escorted her personally, a corporate death march witnessed by early arriving colleagues who stopped and stared and whispered. Sarah kept her head up, her spine straight, even as everything inside her was crumbling. She packed her personal items in silence. Photos of her wedding day, back when she and David still looked at each other with hope. Her college diploma, the small, succulent plant her assistant had given her for her birthday. Stupid, meaningless things that suddenly felt like evidence of a life that was disintegrating. Your computer stays, Victoria reminded her. It will be imaging the hard drive. Sarah nodded. She couldn't speak. If she spoke, she would scream or cry or both. At 8:30 in the morning, Sarah Chen walked out of Meridian Financial Group carrying a cardboard box and her dignity in shreds. The October air was cold against her face. She made it to her car before the tears came. She sat in the driver's seat shaking, unable to process the speed at which her life had just collapsed. An affair exposed. Accused of a crime she didn't commit. Facing FBI investigation. Career destroyed, marriage surely over. And somehow, impossibly, she had to figure out what the hell had just happened and who had done this to her. Sarah pulled out her phone with trembling hands. 17 missed calls from Marcus. She deleted them all without listening. He had already chosen his side, and it wasn't hers. Instead, she called the only person she could think of, her younger brother James, who worked in cybersecurity, and had always told her that digital systems were only as secure as the people who used them. "Sarah, it's 8:30 in the morning. Why are you—" "I need your help," she said. Her voice cracked. "Jamie, I need your help right now, and I need you to believe me when I say I didn't do what they're saying I did." There was a pause, then his voice, serious, alert. "Where are you?" "Parking lot, Meridian Building." "Don't go home, not yet. Drive to that coffee shop near my apartment, the one with the terrible Wi-Fi. I'll meet you there in 20 minutes. "And Sarah?" "Yeah?" "Don't talk to anyone else. Not the company, not the FBI if they call, not your husband, nobody, not until we figure this out." Sarah drove. Her hands were still shaking, but there was something steadying about having a destination, a plan, even a tiny one. The coffee shop was called The Grind, a hipster place in Queens that prided itself on being technologically backward. No Wi-Fi, no charging stations, just coffee and human conversation. She ordered black coffee she couldn't taste and sat in the corner booth, the cardboard box of her former life at her feet. James arrived in 18 minutes. He was 31, perpetually in a hoodie, brilliant in that quiet way that made people underestimate him. He slid into the booth across from her, took one look at her face and didn't ask if she was okay. He already knew the answer. "Tell me everything," he said. "Start from the beginning. Don't leave anything out." So she did. The affair, the photograph, the bank transfers, the authorization codes, the FBI, Marcus's betrayal. All of it spilled out in a desperate confession to the one person she trusted not to judge her, at least not until after he'd helped her. James listened without interrupting. When she finished, he pulled out his own laptop. He never went anywhere without it, and opened a secure notepad. "Okay," he said, "let's break this down. Someone accessed your employee credentials and made those transfers look like they came from you. That means either they physically accessed your computer while you were logged in, or they compromised your login remotely." "When did you last change your password?" Sarah thought back. 3 months ago. The company makes us change it quarterly. "Did you use the same password anywhere else? Personal email, banking, anything?" She hesitated. "Maybe. I try to use different ones, but nobody actually does." James was already typing. "What about your computer? Do you leave it unlocked when you step away from your desk?" "Sometimes, if I'm just going to the bathroom or getting coffee, but only for a few minutes." "A few minutes is plenty. What about remote access? Does Meridian let you work from home?" "Yes, we all have VPN access." "And you use that from your personal computer?" "My laptop. Sometimes." James leaned back, thinking. "Here's what I'm guessing. Someone either installed keylogging software on your work computer or compromised your home laptop and grabbed your credentials when you logged into the VPN. Once they had your username and password, they could access the system as you, make the transfers, and you'd never know until it was too late." "But who would do that? And why frame me specifically?" "That's the $800,000 question." James drummed his fingers on the table. "Who has the technical knowledge to pull this off? Who has access to your workspace? Who would benefit from you taking the fall?" Sarah's mind raced through her colleagues. The IT department had access to everything, but she barely knew those people. Her assistant, Melissa, could access her computer, but had no motive and minimal technical skill. The other account managers were competitive, but not criminal. "Unless—" "Marcus," she said slowly. "Marcus has executive-level access. He could authorize large transfers. He knows my schedule, my habits, and now that the affair is exposed, if he needed a scapegoat to cover his own tracks—" But even as she said it, it didn't quite fit. Marcus wasn't technically sophisticated. He barely knew how to use Excel beyond basic functions. There's something else, Sarah said. The private investigator. Rebecca Webb hired her 3 weeks ago, but the transfers started 3 months ago. Why would she wait to expose the affair? Why bring it to the company instead of just divorcing him quietly? James raised an eyebrow. Good question. Unless exposing the affair wasn't the goal, maybe it was just leverage. Leverage for what? I don't know yet. But think about it. She could have confronted Marcus privately, demanded a settlement, divorce, whatever. Instead, she brings a PI into your workplace, involves HR, makes it public. That's strategic. She wanted the company to know, wanted you specifically to be there for that reveal. Sarah's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She ignored it. It buzzed again. Text message. Ms. Chen, this is Special Agent Robert Kozlowski, FBI Financial Crimes. I need to speak with you today regarding an ongoing investigation. Please call me at this number within the next 2 hours. Sarah showed James the message. His jaw tightened. Don't respond yet. We need more information first. He was already typing rapidly on his laptop. I have a friend who works in digital forensics. Owes me a favor. If I can get access to the transfer logs, I might be able to trace the actual IP addresses and physical locations where those transfers originated. Can you get me any company documents? Anything that shows the technical details of the transfers? I don't have access anymore. They took everything. What about cloud storage? Email archives? Anything backed up outside the company system? Sarah thought hard. I have some emails on my personal account. I sometimes forwarded myself work documents to review at home. The company technically doesn't allow it, but everyone does it. Forward me everything you have. Everything from the past 6 months, even if it seems irrelevant. Sarah pulled out her personal phone and started forwarding. Her fingers moved on autopilot while her mind spun through possibilities, scenarios, suspects. The coffee shop door opened. Sarah looked up instinctively and froze. It was Rebecca Webb. Marcus's wife was 52, elegant, wealthy in that old money way that came with country clubs and boarding school pedigrees. She was wearing a camel cashmere coat and carrying a Birkin bag that cost more than Sarah's car. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. She looked nothing like someone whose marriage was imploding. She looked like someone who was winning. Rebecca scanned the coffee shop, spotted Sarah, and walked directly to their table. James tensed, ready to intervene, but Rebecca simply pulled out a chair and sat down. Ms. Chen, she said. Her voice was smooth, cultured, cold. I thought I might find you here. Your brother is quite active on social media. His location tags made it easy. Sarah found her voice. What do you want? To make you an offer. Rebecca placed her handbag on the table with deliberate care. I want you to confess to the embezzlement. The silence that followed was deafening. James recovered first. Are you out of your mind? She's not confessing to anything. Rebecca didn't even look at him. Her eyes stayed locked on Sarah. If you confess and cooperate with the FBI investigation, I will use my considerable resources to ensure you receive a reduced sentence. Perhaps 18 months in a minimum security facility. With good behavior, you could be out in 12. I have connections at the prosecutor's office. I can make this happen. She didn't do it, James said. I know, Rebecca replied calmly. The air left Sarah's lungs. You know, she repeated. Rebecca's smile was arctic. Of course I know. My husband is many things. An adulterer, a liar, a disappointing father to our children. But he's not a thief. You, however, make a perfect suspect. The spurned mistress, motivated by revenge or greed, or simply the need to escape a mediocre marriage. The media will love it. The jury will love it. It's a story that makes perfect sense. If you know she didn't do it, then you know who did, James said. His voice was dangerous. I have suspicions, but proof is expensive and time-consuming to obtain, and frankly, I don't care enough to pursue it. What I care about is destroying my husband completely, and that requires Sarah's cooperation. Sarah's mind was reeling. You want me to go to prison so you can hurt Marcus? I want you to go to prison so Marcus loses everything, Rebecca corrected. His job, his reputation, his freedom. Because once you confess, the investigation will naturally turn to how you access the accounts. And who gave you that access? Who was sleeping with you, giving you special privileges, ignoring protocol because he was blinded by an affair? Marcus will be implicated in the embezzlement conspiracy. He'll be fired, investigated, possibly charged as an accomplice. He'll lose his career, his professional licenses, his ability to work in finance ever again. His name will be destroyed. "You're insane," Sarah said. "I'm practical," Rebecca countered, "and I'm offering you a way out of a life sentence. Because make no mistake, Ms. Chen, if this goes to trial, you will lose. The evidence against you is overwhelming. Your credentials, your computer, your access logs. And without the resources to mount a proper defense, which I know you don't have, you're looking at 20 years federal prison, minimum." Sarah felt like she was drowning. There has to be someone who can prove I didn't do this. Digital forensics, cybersecurity experts. "Expensive," Rebecca said. "Very expensive. Do you have $200,000 for a proper defense team? Because that's the minimum you'd need. And even then, the government wins 97% of federal financial crime cases that go to trial." James grabbed Sarah's hand across the table. "Don't listen to her. We'll figure this out." Rebecca stood, smoothing her coat. "You have 24 hours to decide. After that, I withdraw my offer and let the chips fall where they may. Think carefully, Ms. Chen. Prison is very different for someone like you than it is for the criminals who belong there." She walked out of the coffee shop with the same elegant composure she'd entered with, leaving behind a silence thick with dread. Sarah put her head in her hands. "Jamie, I don't have $200,000. I don't have $20,000. If she's right about the conviction rate—" "She's trying to scare you into confessing," James said firmly. "Don't let her. We have 24 hours. Let's use them." But that night, lying in her childhood bedroom at her brother's apartment because she couldn't face going home to David yet, Sarah couldn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling and calculated impossible math. Legal fees she couldn't afford, evidence she couldn't refute, a future that looked like bars and jumpsuits and 20 years gone. The FBI called again the next morning. Agent Kozlowski's voice was professional but not unkind. "Ms. Chen, I understand you've retained counsel?" She hadn't, but James had coached her. "I'm in the process of securing legal representation." "I appreciate that. I'd like to schedule a formal interview for tomorrow afternoon, 2 p.m. at our Manhattan office. Your attorney is welcome to attend. I'll confirm with my lawyer and call you back." "Ms. Chen, one more thing. We're also investigating the possibility that you had an accomplice, someone with executive-level access who may have helped facilitate the transfers. If you're willing to cooperate and provide information about other parties involved, the prosecutor's office might be willing to discuss a plea arrangement." He was talking about Marcus. They were already building the conspiracy case Rebecca wanted. Sarah hung up and immediately called the only lawyer she could afford, a public defender referral from James's friend who worked in legal aid. His name was Tom Rodriguez, and he was 32, overworked, and honest about her chances. "I'm not going to sugarcoat this," Tom said when they met at a Starbucks because he didn't have a proper office. "The evidence is bad, really bad. If the transfers came from your credentials and your computer, and you can't prove someone else accessed them, a jury is going to convict. I've seen weaker cases get 20-year sentences." "So what do I do?" Tom hesitated. "There's a woman you should talk to, Diane Reeves. She used to work for the FBI in their cybercrime division. Now she's a private forensic investigator. She's expensive, but she's also the best. If anyone can prove your credentials were compromised, it's her." "How expensive?" $75,000. Minimum." Sarah laughed bitterly. "I don't have $75,000. "Then you need to find it, or you need to take whatever plea deal they offer, because going to trial without proper forensic defense is suicide." Sarah left the meeting feeling more hopeless than ever. She had no money, no resources, no way to prove her innocence. Rebecca's offer echoed in her mind. 18 months, 12 with good behavior, better than 20 years. But it would destroy Marcus, and Sarah realized with some surprise that she didn't actually want that. Marcus had betrayed her, abandoned her when she needed him most. but she didn't want him to lose everything because of a lie. That evening, Sarah finally went home. David was waiting in the kitchen. He'd clearly been crying. The divorce papers were on the table. "I heard," he said quietly. "Derek called me, told me what happened at work, told me about Marcus." Sarah couldn't meet his eyes. "I'm sorry. For the affair or for getting caught?" "Both, neither. I don't know anymore, David. I don't know anything anymore." He slid the papers across the table. "I've been unhappy for a long time. So have you. We both know this marriage has been over for years, but I never thought you'd betray me like this, and I never thought you'd steal." "I didn't steal," Sarah said. "I swear to you, I didn't take that money." "Then who did?" "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." David studied her face for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He pulled out his phone, opened his banking app, and showed her the screen. "We have $42,000 in our joint savings. It was supposed to be for the house renovation. Take it. Hire that investigator. Prove you're innocent." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Why would you help me? After everything?" "Because despite everything, I know you. And the woman I married, the woman I spent 9 years with, isn't a thief." He stood up, grabbed his jacket. "I'm going to stay at my brother's place for a while. But Sarah, if you're lying to me, if you actually did this, I'll never forgive you, and I'll make sure everyone knows what you are." He left. Sarah sat alone in their kitchen, holding his offered lifeline, and cried for the first time since this nightmare began. The next morning, Sarah wired $42,000 to Diane Reeves and prayed it would be enough. Diane was 63, gray-haired, sharp-eyed, and skeptical. She met Sarah at a private office in Midtown with James present. "I'm going to be honest with you," Diane said after reviewing the case files Tom had managed to obtain. "This is going to be difficult. Whoever set you up knew what they were doing. The transfers were made during active login sessions, so we can't just say your credentials were stolen and used while you were offline. They had to either install malware on your computer or physically access it while you were away." "Can you prove that?" Sarah asked. "Maybe. If I can get access to your work computer before the FBI's forensics team finishes with it. IT departments often create backups before letting law enforcement take equipment. If your company still has those backups, I might be able to find evidence of malware or unauthorized access." "How do we get that?" Diane smiled grimly. "Very carefully." What happened next felt like a crime thriller. Diane had contacts in corporate IT, people who understood that sometimes innocent employees got railroaded and were willing to bend rules to help. Through a series of encrypted communications and off-the-books meetings, Diane managed to obtain a ghost image of Sarah's work computer from before it was seized. For 3 days, Diane disappeared into code and logs and digital fingerprints, while Sarah waited, helpless, watching her life hang in the balance. On the 4th day, Diane called. "I found something." Sarah could barely breathe. "What?" "Keylogging software, installed on your computer approximately 4 months ago. Hidden in what looked like a routine system update. It recorded every keystroke you made, including all your passwords. The software transmitted data to an external server every night at 2 a.m. I traced the server location." "Where?" "A residential IP address in Westchester County, registered to Rebecca Webb." The world stopped. "Rebecca did this," Sarah whispered. "She framed me." "Not just framed you. She orchestrated the entire thing. The embezzlement, the timing of the affair exposure, everything. I kept digging through the transfer records. The offshore accounts receiving the money? They're shell corporations. And guess who's listed as the beneficial owner? Rebecca. Actually, no, her daughter, Christina Webb, 26 years old, works in private equity, drowning in gambling debts from an addiction her mother's been covering up for years. I found correspondence between Rebecca and a debt collection agency. Christina owed nearly $900,000 to various casinos and private lenders. Rebecca used your credentials to embezzle company money to pay off her daughter's debts, then framed you to cover it up and destroy your husband in the process. 2 birds, 1 stone. Sarah felt dizzy with revelation and rage. "How do we prove this?" "We take it to the FBI. I have all the digital evidence, the server logs, the IP addresses, the corporate registrations. It's enough to shift the investigation." "And Rebecca?" will be arrested for wire fraud, embezzlement, obstruction of justice, and about 6 other federal crimes. She's looking at 20 years. Minimum. Sarah should have felt relief, victory, justice. Instead, she felt exhausted. Agent Kozlowski listened to Diane's presentation with an impassive face. He asked technical questions, requested copies of all evidence, made several phone calls. Finally, he looked at Sarah. Ms. Chen, on behalf of the FBI, I apologize for the distress this investigation has caused you. Based on this new evidence, you are no longer a suspect. We'll be shifting our focus to Mrs. Webb and her daughter. It was over, just like that. 4 days of hell ending in a single sentence. But the aftermath was complicated. Meridian Financial Group issued a formal apology and offered Sarah her job back with back pay. She declined. The trust was broken, the memories too painful. Marcus called 17 times the day the news broke about Rebecca's arrest. Sarah answered on the 18th call. I'm sorry, he said. His voice was wrecked. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I should have believed you. I should have stood by you. I was scared and selfish, and you were protecting yourself, Sarah said. I understand. I probably would have done the same thing. Will you ever forgive me? Sarah thought about the affair, the abandonment, the betrayal, about how people show you who they really are when everything falls apart. Maybe someday, she said, but not today. And we're done, Marcus. Whatever we had, it's over. I know, he said quietly. I just wanted you to know that I did love you. In my way, I did. I know, Sarah said, and she hung up. David filed for divorce 3 weeks later. It was amicable, sad, inevitable. They split their assets, sold the house, and went their separate ways. At the final court hearing, David hugged her. I'm proud of you, he said, for fighting, for proving your innocence, for not giving up. Thank you for believing me, Sarah said, even when you had every reason not to. That's what love is, David replied, even when it ends. Rebecca Webb and her daughter Christina were indicted on 14 federal charges. The trial made national news. Sarah didn't attend, didn't watch the coverage. She'd lived it once, that was enough. Both were convicted. Rebecca got 18 years. Christina got 12. The same sentences Rebecca had offered Sarah in exchange for a false confession. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Sarah took a job at a smaller firm, one where nobody knew her story. She went to therapy, processed her trauma, learned to forgive herself for the affair and the mistakes and the ways she'd compromised her own values in pursuit of feeling wanted. She learned that survival wasn't about avoiding damage, it was about how you rebuilt after the damage was done. 6 months after the trial, Sarah received a letter. No return address. Inside was a single typed sentence. I'm sorry for what I almost let happen to you. M. Sarah never responded. Some apologies don't deserve responses. Some chapters need to close without epilogues. She kept the letter anyway. A reminder that people are complicated, messy, capable of both terrible and decent things. That redemption is possible but not required. That forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, not something you owe anyone else. Sarah Chen started over. Not perfectly, not without scars, but with the hard-earned knowledge that she could survive the worst and come out breathing. And that was enough. On a quiet Sunday morning 18 months later, Sarah sat in a coffee shop, not the grind, somewhere new, working on her laptop. A woman approached her table. Sarah Chen? Sarah looked up, wary. The woman was in her early 30s, professional, kind-faced. I'm Melissa Torres. I was your assistant at Meridian. I just wanted to tell you that what happened to you changed how I see corporate culture. I left that company, went back to school for cybersecurity. I'm graduating next month, and I wanted to thank you for showing me what resilience looks like. Sarah felt her throat tighten. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. You could have become bitter and angry. Instead, you rebuilt your life. That matters. That means something. Melissa left. Sarah sat alone with her coffee, and for the first time in 2 years, she felt something like peace. The strange thing that happened in that office wasn't just the frame-up or the investigation or the affair's exposure. It was the revelation that the people you trust can betray you, The systems you believe in can fail you, and the only thing you truly control is how you respond when everything falls apart. Sarah responded by fighting, by refusing to accept a convenient lie, by surviving. And if you've made it this far in this story, I need you to do something for me. Type your country in the comments right now. Tell me where you're watching from. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because stories like this, real, raw, complicated stories about survival and redemption, are what this channel is all about. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's fighting their own battle, someone who needs to know that survival is possible. Because Sarah's story isn't just about an affair that went wrong or a crime she didn't commit. It's about the courage it takes to keep breathing when the world tells you to give up. And that's a message worth spreading. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.